Sean O'Malley defeats Petr Yan here. Topic number 3, but it's a split decision. And more to the point, a very controversial split decision. 2 judges gave round 1 and round 3 to O'Malley. And then every judge, I think, gave the second round to Yan. 1 judge gave Yan the first and the second. BC, first question, how did you score the fight?
2 rounds to 1 for Yan. Like, I think every single media person that gets, pooled together on these lists that they have online, they couldn't find one that picked O'Malley. Close fight? Yes. Is there an avenue to pick O'Malley? So all 3 judges gave O'Malley the third. That's the 1 round I gave him. Even that round is close, by the way, and you can argue for Yan, but the flying knee cut Yan open. Even though Yan finished the fight with ground and pound on top, I'm fine giving O'Malley the third. There is a path to give him a 2-1 victory, a split decision win here, but it would have to be round 1. It was a close round. There wasn't a ton of damage either way, but Yan was able to take him down and have success on top. And I don't think O'Malley did enough on the feet. So to give him both of those, both 1 and 3, you're asking a lot. Not a not a, Dana loaded envelope to the 3 judges, no, although I get that that's why people, right away are like, oh, come on. But you do have to reach a little bit. Close fight, it could have gone O'Malley's way. It was obviously surprising to then see 2 of the 3 judges do that when everybody from a distance couldn't go to that length. I'll reserve the right that judges are closer than we are. They see a little bit more than we do. I'll also reserve the right to mention that the scoring system's all over the place in terms of interpretation. But even in all of that together, Luke, no, I can't give him 2 rounds. I really can't. But what's interesting about this, and maybe why there isn't maybe even more outrage, what did O'Malley have to prove in this fight? That he belongs among the bantamweight elite, among the elite in the deepest, most dangerous division, not only in the sport today, but really maybe ever. He proved that. He was tough. He got rocked. He stayed in. He made adjustments to his game. He rallied in the third. So it's weird that in the fight he gets a decision win, which people don't think he deserved. He did accomplish what he set out to do, proving he belongs in this level. And look, I've got to say this, whether you care about his reaction or not, his reaction afterwards of being like, almost saying, I'm not even really sure if I won. Let me watch the tape. Even when they asked him, are you ready for the title next? He's like, well, let me watch the tape again. I got nothing but respect for that. Like Anthony Smith not allowing that DQ win over John Jones, I got a lot of respect for O'Malley being real right there in that moment. And I think he wins. Even if he had lost this, I think he would have, won from a critical standpoint. But I don't think it's great that he won, though, Luke. I knew he was going to win. I just knew he was going to go win in ways that I couldn't describe. And they didn't involve corruption. It just felt like this momentum, this run that he's on. I'm not surprised that he won, but I can't find 2 rounds for him, Luke. I can't. Just me, on my criteria, my scoring.
I had someone come after me on social media being like, oh, same thing. You always say this, that there's not a robbery. Yes. You fucking bozos. Of course I'm saying it's not. Here's what a robbery would be. A robbery would be if all 3 judges, or at least 2 of the judges anyway, gave round 2 to O'Malley. Now, That would be a robbery. That's a robbery. But giving him the round that he clearly won, not giving him the third round, which was closely contested, but probably a fair call for O'Malley, and then not giving him the first one, I don't agree with that. But the numeric totals were close, and then there wasn't much ground and pound or submission threats from the grappling itself. And so under the new criteria, which I think is absolutely fucking stupid, but it is the criteria that the judges are asked to use, there you have it. I can squint and see why the judges may have called it for him, but a robbery would be something that is inexplicable. This is quite explainable. This is not that hard to noodle through, right? You see, like, I've seen, this is a true story. I literally called the fight. It was an old promotion called UWC back when they were in the Mid-Atlantic and the aughts. I called the fight between Mike Easton and Chase Beebe, now a UFC and then a WEC veterans. And Chase Beebe, in a 25-minute fight, had Mike Easton's back for like 22 minutes. Something insane. He had no offense, really, to speak of. And the judges somehow gave it to Mike Easton. It is not explainable. It's not explainable under the criteria. That is a robbery, ladies and gentlemen. A closely contested round going potentially not the way that you like it. I disagree. I also think that Yan won. That is not a robbery.
Right.
Thank you.
It's exasperated by the idea that O'Malley is the chosen one marketing wise, and it probably should be for them. And that's why he was in this spot. That's why Dana declared it's a number one contender bout, even though Marlon Vera beat him and is, maybe arguably more deserving. You knew it. So when somebody wins a decision in which, again, we can find a path for it. I get how it happened. I just fully did not agree. That's when it becomes a robbery and there's, conspiracy and all that. I don't think this was the case in this. O'Malley had a great reaction. He also fought very good. This is also your former champion in Petr Yan, who's, nearly flawless across the board, outside of maybe Aljo taking his back more than I expected in the second fight. And O'Malley, he's going to get the spoils of it, Luke, but we have to separate between I don't agree with the decision and this is corruption. I mean, there's a lot of steps in between that.
All right. And by the way, I saw Ben Cartilage is one of the judges who gave the first round to O'Malley. Ben Cartilage is a very good judge, a very, very, very competent judge. Like, I don't agree in this particular case, but to your point, I don't know how he saw it. So, and his vantage point in the cage, what he heard, what he didn't, what he saw, what he didn't. So,
dude, wouldn't it be nice if we had accountability? Can we have accountability? I mean, people. This is the main reason why I don't want open scoring separate from the real reason, which is I think it's more entertaining without it. I forgot, Luke. Yeah, it was going to be great. You know what I mean? I'm just going to have to sit here I'm going to have to sit there wearing the shame of my broken down path that I was headed towards. So I was
going to say this. I think the right takeaway that you had, BC, was that, like, win or lose, like, even if I scored the fight for Yan, dude, Sean O'Malley belongs. He is a very, very legitimate top guy at 135 pounds. Although here's the thing, BC, like, he was kind of hesitant because you look at his body language and everyone else's, and you reference this. When they were reading the decision, it didn't look like they thought that he had won. But the bigger point is this. It's like, okay, on the feet, O'Malley is a force to be reckoned with. Like, Yan gave it back to him, but Yan is also like a very high-level bantamweight. And, they were giving each other fits on the feet. So he is clearly of that level. On the ground, however, BC, in the wrestling defense, a guy like Sterling, could he beat O'Malley on the feet? Highly unlikely. Could he beat him on the ground? I think he takes his lunch money on the ground, right? I do think that he is skilled and he belongs, but there's a clear difference in some of the phases of the game.
Indeed, and that's why I think the Conor comparisons are more apt. Not just that they're colorful and they both have big audiences and momentum upon their rise. Is that O'Malley? I don't think he's ever going to be that fully rounded out, completely mixed martial artists across the board. What he does, he's great at it. He can beat anybody with his A game. It seems though, and he proved this in this fight, whether you thought he won or lost, he may have enough of those other intangibles to keep him going on the elite level and keep him down this path, even if he doesn't round it out. But there are some bad style matchups for him, just like there always would be for Conor. And I think that only, in some ways, raises the entertainment and the anticipation. Can he get it done? What happens? This was good for him to find out what it's like when you get rocked by a championship level fighter and how you respond to that. And in those regards, Luke, what's the most valuable thing that O'Malley gained for himself, if he cares, is this whole idea that he's, fragile from the Vera fight. He kind of got rid of that to a certain degree.
Yeah. Yes.
That he may fall apart, that he may have an unforced error, that he's weak, anything like that. I didn't love that finish for him against Vera, and I hated even worse his reaction to it. But this was mature in the ways he needed it to be mature, even though, God, I mean, I was saying all week that Yan, if he loses, would be 3 in a row. I keep forgetting about that Corey Sandhagen fight in between, which was a great fight, and Yan was amazing in that. But this is 3 losses in 4 fights for a guy who, I mean, he's still among the 10 best in the world, in my opinion, Luke. It's crazy to see, but that's this division. That's the bad luck he got.
Yeah, and again, last thing on this for me is just that I just hate the scoring criteria. I realize that you just don't want a guy laying on top of another guy.
Yes.
And they've been like, oh, well, he got in a lot of control time, so then that matters. Control time is a variable. It certainly matters to some degree, but you don't want to overstate it. But this idea that the only grappling that matters is like if you're laying heavy ground and pound or close to a submission, I think is a fucking joke, personally. If you take a guy out of his very best place where he is no longer able to launch meaningful offense, it is creating instability in terms of how secure he can be and what he can throw by virtue of am I going to be taken off of my feet? Plus the actual work he has to do to extricate himself from that. Give me a fucking break, dude. That is real. That is valuable. That matters. And to just chuck that out the window seems to me like a vast overcorrection.